We are continuing the chapter Financial Statements of NPO, Not-for-Profit Organization. So we already discussed the financial statements. You know what are the financial statements of NPO. The first is receipts and payments account. The second one is income expenditure account, and the third one is balance sheet. Balance sheet, that's a last year's format we will be drawing, the old format, liabilities amount, assets amount. So these are the three statements which we have to prepare for NPOs. We have learnt the format of receipts and payments and income and expenditure. Balance sheet you all know how to do. So we will work out problems based on these formats. So what you have to remember is, when you do income and expenditure account, and the format itself you have to write very carefully, though the name is income and expenditure account, we will be writing it as expenditure amount, incomes amount, because expenditure will be having a debit balance always, incomes will be having a credit balance. So the format is expenditure amount, incomes amount. Then while you do income expenditure account, we have to remember the features of income and expenditure account. The first feature is, it is a nominal account that we have discussed before. Then it follows accrual basis, meaning is received and receivable. Similarly, paid and payable, all these are included in income expenditure account. Then next one is, it includes revenue items, that means recurring items. Only revenue expenditure and revenue incomes or revenue receipts will be included in income expenditure. And the fourth point is, only current year's figure. You remember when we calculated that subscription and all, outstanding at the end, that means this year's, which we have to add, less outstanding in the beginning. So all these, why we are doing all these? Because we are considering only current year's figure. Okay, so these are the features, or these are the points you have to remember while you do income expenditure. Now we will work out illustration number 26, that is given on page number 1.38. Okay. The question is asking you to prepare income and expenditure account. That will be the usual question from this chapter. One receipts and payments account is given in your question, and we are asked to do income expenditure. But last year board exam, income expenditure they asked, and as or question what they asked is to prepare receipts and payments. So normally you will be asked to do the income expenditure, but last year they gave they asked to prepare a receipts and payments account. That's easy, because for income expenditure you have to include only revenue items, whereas if it is receipts and payments, everything you can include. You don't have to make a distinction between capital and revenue items, everything you can include. Okay. So illustration 26 we will do now, page number 1.38. So the balance sheet they are not asking. For a comprehensive question, balance sheet also will be asked, but now they are not asking the balance sheet. So we will just do income expenditure account. What you have to do is go through the receipts and payments account. Either you start with the receipt side or with the payment side. So here the receipt side, the first item given there is balance brought down. That means it is the opening balance, and opening balance of cash in hand and cash at bank, both are given there. See, it's written like current account with the bank. Usually what the firms open is current account. Individuals usually will be opening a savings account. There are different types of bank accounts. So for business organizations, they will be usually opening current account. Okay, so current account with bank means it is cash at bank, nothing else. Okay, so this opening balance of cash in hand and cash at bank will appear only in the balance sheet. See, is cash an income for you? No. Is it an expense for you? No. When it is received, it's an income. When it is paid, it's an expense. Whereas cash in hand and cash at bank, the basic nature is asset. These two will appear only in the balance sheet, not in income expenditure. Understood? So that always you have to remember that opening balance and closing balance also given. These two will appear only in the balance sheet. Okay, the next item on the receipt side is donations, and nothing is mentioned means you can assume it as general donation, and general donations you can consider as revenue or recurring in nature, which we can include here. So we will draw the format and start this income expenditure account. You must have a heading and the name is income and expenditure account. For the year ended 31st March 2019. And the format is expenditure, amount, income, amount. So always remember to write expenditure on the debit side, though the name is income and expenditure. You have to write the format in this order. Expenditure must come on the debit side, incomes on the credit side. And which is the first item we are going to write? We are starting with receipt side. If you want, you can start with payment side also. So I am starting with receipt side now. The first item there is donation, and donation will appear on which side in this account? Donation is receipt, so it's an income here, it must come here. Understood? So see, donation in receipts and payments, it's appearing on the debit side because their receipts on the debit side, whereas here incomes are written on the credit side. Don't simply write it on the debit side itself. You have to see whether it is income or expense. So actually it is moving to the opposite side because incomes are on the credit side. So we will write donations first by donation, and since it is general donation we are writing here, or else it will be taken as capital receipt. So here we can write that is 20,000. Then what next we have to do is, before that you had to do something. Always you start with the adjustments. I forgot to tell you that. Start with adjustments always. You remember last year how we prepared financial statements of sole proprietorship organizations, the P&L and the balance sheet. We used to read the adjustments first, and we'll put a tick mark against items having adjustments, isn't it? So the same step we'll follow here. You start with the adjustments always. Actually, forgot to tell you that. So start with adjustments. Here, depreciate furniture. So furniture is having an adjustment where you can find furniture in this receipts and payments. Furniture means something which we purchased. So it's on the payment side. You can see furniture. Did you see the second last item? So furniture, put a tick mark against that. You have to remember there is an adjustment for that item. Then there are 416 members subscription payable. So the subscription is having an adjustment. So put a tick mark against subscription. Subscription means the amount received from members, and it is regular in nature, it is repetitive in nature, it is recurring, and you can find it on the receipt side. Did you see subscriptions there just above life membership fee? So put a tick mark against subscription. Then third additional information or adjustment is again that is regarding subscription. So we have already put a tick mark against subscription. So always do like this. Read the adjustments, put tick marks against items having adjustment. Then we wrote this one. Next one, there is proceeds from charity show. That is again recurring in nature because yours is NPO. Yours can be a club. See, they have mentioned yours is Rolex Club. So yours is a club, and the charity show proceeds, you can take it as revenue receipts and write it here. So proceeds from charity show, the amount is 16,200. Then they have written subscription. Did you see? And you must remember, since we have put a tick mark against subscription, meaning is you have to see the adjustments below. Okay, so subscription 52,000 we'll write first. That is the amount we received, isn't it? So you write by subscription. See, inside receipts and payments account, usually what they write on the receipt side will be the received item. Not usually, it is only the received item they are writing. Then on the payment side, what they write is paid item, because receipts and payments account will be following cash basis of accounting. Understood? This income expenditure will follow accrual basis. Here you can write receivable, payable, everything, but in receipts and payments you can find only received items and paid items. So that subscription 52,000 given on the receipt side, meaning is this is the amount that we received. So that we have to write in the inner column, since this is having adjustment. Okay, the second adjustment related to subscription. Subscription payable by each member. There were 416 members and each member should pay a subscription of 125. So what will be the total amount of subscription? How will you get that? It will be 416 into 125. Just compute the figure, 416 into 125, that is again 52,000. Okay, so what we received and what we have to receive is the same. The reason is we have certain adjustments. See, in this question accidentally these two became same. Not always it will be same. So here what we received is 52,000. What we are supposed to receive is also 52,000. This figure always appear in the outer column. That means what we have to receive will appear always in the outer column. This is the amount that we received, and what we have to receive will appear in the outer column. Now we will see how we are getting 52,000 in the outer column also. Again, third adjustment is related to subscription. How we got this 52,000? That is 416 into 125. This is the receivable amount. So we wrote in the outer column. Now, third adjustment you read, subscription outstanding on 31st March 2018. We are doing the statement for 31st March 2019. So the current year means it is 2019. And what you have to remember is add outstanding at the end, less outstanding in the beginning, because outstanding in the beginning means that is last year's. So outstanding on 31st March 2018 means it is outstanding in the beginning. That's actually last year's figure. So we have to less that 6,000. So you write here less 6,000. That is outstanding for 2018. Okay, you write less symbol before this outstanding. Okay. Yes, so 6,000 we will deduct. Then the next item there is subscription outstanding on 31st March 2019. That means this year's outstanding figure which we will add here. So outstanding on 2019 will add now. The amount is 7,000. Okay. Then the next figure, received in advance on 31st March 2018. Last year you received in advance. That will be for this year, which we will add now. So current year's figure we can add, that's all. Received in advance on 2018, the amount is 4,000, which we can add now. Then see that 52,000 you need not write first in the outer column. After you do all these adjustments, automatically, if you are doing it correctly, automatically you will get that figure in the outer column. Okay. So received in advance on 31st March 2019. This year ending you received in advance, it's for next year. So which we have to less. The amount is 5,000. Now you just add and see what's the final figure in the outer column. It will be 52,000 again. This is how we are getting that 52,000 in the outer column. Okay. So you can check whether the answer is correct. 416 into 125, you understood that the receivable amount, the outer column amount should be 52. If you are getting something else, that means what we have done under adjustments, the added and deducted items might be wrong. Okay. The next one is life membership fee. Life membership fee, it is paid by members but once in lifetime. It is not recurring in nature. So that is capital item which we will not include in income expenditure. So ignore it. Entrance fee, that we discussed in previous video. Entrance fee, it is the amount paid by members at the time of admission. And I told you that so far discussions are being going on. They haven't concluded anything. So what we are following is, it is being considered as a revenue item. Okay. So revenue item, we will consider this and we will write it on the income side by entrance fee. The amount is 6,000. Then interest on investment 7,200. Okay, interest is also recurring in nature, so that we can write it here. Interest on investment 7,200. Don't go and calculate 7% on 7,200. They have written specifically this is the interest on investment. So interest amount is directly given 7,200. Again, don't go and compute 10%. See, in your solution in the textbook, they have prepared subscription account to get this 52,000. You don't have to do like this. That's confusing. You do like this. Okay, the adjustments you show in the inner column. And 52,000, they also have got 52,000, but they prepared account and all. You don't have to do like that. Okay, now your receipt side is over. Then your payment side, advertisement, that is recurring in nature. So we can write it, but not on the income side. Payments means all these will come on the expenditure side, that you have to remember. So we'll write to advertisement. The amount is 13,100. Then we have rent, rates and taxes. All these are recurring in nature, revenue items. So you can write it here. Rent, rates and taxes, that is 14,000. Then repairs 15,000. Printing and stationery. So all these expenses are recurring, so we are writing it here. $16,000. Government bonds. Okay, government bonds means that is just like debentures. The NPO, now we are NPO. So the NPO purchased some debentures or some bonds by paying their amount. So it is a borrowing made by somebody else. It can be a government or a public institution. So it is their borrowing. What we are doing is purchasing their bonds or purchasing their debenture. And this process is non-recurring in nature. Every time we will not go and purchase a debenture or a bond. So that is capital payment or capital expenditure. You should not include it here. Okay. Then telephone expenses we can. So you must remember that we can write only revenue items. Don't write every items to this side. Then we have furniture. Okay, furniture purchased on 1st July. That means during the year they purchased. Furniture, what is the nature? It is a fixed asset. So purchasing fixed asset, will it happen again and again? It will happen, but not within a year. So this is again capital expenditure, just like bonds. Furniture also you have to exclude. But remember one thing, you have put a tick mark against furniture. There is depreciation on furniture at the rate of 15%. That depreciation is recurring in nature, which you have to write on the debit side. Okay. So, now depreciation will be written. And how will you compute the figure? The calculation will be on the furniture amount you are computing. So, on 70,000 you will compute the rate of depreciation. 15% is the calculation over? No. Always you have to see the date on which you purchased the furniture. You have purchased only on 1st July, not on 1st April. During the year only you purchased. So, you have to compute depreciation. When you compute that, you have to consider the time period always. So, starting from 1st July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. So, for 9 months you have to compute this depreciation. That you must remember, don't do it for 1 year. If it was 1st April, you can just do 70,000 into 15 by 100. If nothing is mentioned also, you can assume that it was there from 1st April. But here they have specified the date, so consider the time period and do. So, that amount is, all these amounts you just compute, don't simply copy. Okay. So, that is over. Then we have closing cash balance and bank balance that we will take only in the balance sheet. So, the items are over now. Then just read the adjustments. We have taken all adjustments, that also you have to check once again. Yes, depreciation, subscription, everything you took. Now, what we have to do is just find the balancing figure. How will you find the balancing figure? Add your debit side, add your credit sides. So, if income is more, that means it will result in surplus. If expenses are more, that means it's a deficit. So, here your income side is more. So, that is a surplus which we will be writing on the debit side. Okay. To surplus. The difference figure you can write here. That's a balancing figure we are writing. 34,425. Understood? So, this is how we have to do income and expenditure account. Adjustments you have to consider at the same time. You have to remember we can include only revenue items, the recurring items. Okay. We will work out illustration 25 also. Again, that is just to do the income expenditure account, not the balance sheet. Just draw the format. Always write the heading before you draw the format. The date is 31st March 2020. Previous question we did for 2019. And the format also write very carefully. Incomes on the credit side, expenditure on the debit side. Now the first step is go through the adjustments given. Additional information, we have subscription in arrears, means it is outstanding. Remember one point, subscription in arrears or subscription outstanding means not payable item. Subscription itself means something you have to receive from members. So, subscription outstanding means receivable, whereas salary outstanding means payable. So, the word meaning of outstanding differs depending on the situation. Okay, so subscription you put a tick mark, then half year's interest on loan also outstanding. There is something like interest on loan for half year, 12,000. Did you see that item? Put a tick mark against that. So, we will start now. The first one is salary paid, which is recurring in nature, which we can write here. So, you write to salary 5 lakhs. Then the next item, electricity expenses. That is 50,000. Then printing and stationery, which we can take here, but within brackets they have written something that we have to consider. Printing and stationery recurring in nature, So we are writing, consider that adjustment given within brackets including 5,000 for previous year. What should we do with previous years? Less, because only current years you can take. So 35,000 less previous years, the amount is 5,000, and the outer column you can write 30,000. Then subscription received including 20,000 in advance, received in advance, that means 20,000 you have received in advance. What should we do with in advance? If nothing is mentioned, this 20,000 was received in advance at the end of this year. That is what you have to assume. So this year ending, you received in advance 20,000. So that will be for the next year. So less that 20,000, then 50,000 for the previous year. That means 50,000 we got for the previous year. That is also last year's figure, which we have to less. So these two amounts which we less. Then other than that, there is additional information. That's why there is a tick mark against subscription. So these two figures we less. Then subscription in arrears on 31st March 2020. That means this year's ending we have arrears figure, we have outstanding figure 80,000, that we will add. So that's what we have to do. But subscription, okay, now what you have to check is, we don't have a proper receipts and payments account for this question. They have simply given so many items, so you have to be very careful. While you write subscription, don't go and write it on the expenditure side, because all these were expenses, but the next item, subscription, must come on the income side. Accidentally you will write on the expenditure side, since all these were expenses. So all these you have to do carefully. So by subscription, in a column we will receive the received amount, that is 4 lakhs, then less advance received, that is actually this is for the next year. This is the advance received at the end of this year. So that will be for next year. This is 4 lakhs. So less 20,000, then less previous years. Previous year's amount is 50,000. This is for previous years. Okay, so this 50 and 20 we have to less. Then this year's outstanding figure we have, that we'll add, that is outstanding, or it is given like arrears. Within brackets you write arrears if you want. Outstanding on 31st March 2020. That means this year's ending we have an outstanding figure of 80. Is it 80,000? Yeah, 80,000. So add this. Now your subscription in the outer column will be 4,10,000. This is how you have to write. Then net proceeds from refreshment room, because yours is a club, that's why we are getting all these kind of income. That's recurring in nature, so you can write it here by net proceeds from refreshment room. The amount is 4,50,000. Then you have miscellaneous expenses, which should come on the debit side. Amount is 1,60,000. Then interest on loan is there, and against which we have an adjustment. So interest on loan paid for half year, the amount is given like 12,000, right in the inner column, since this is having an adjustment. Then half year's interest on loan was outstanding. What should we do with outstanding? Last year you have learned, add outstanding figure. So add outstanding interest, that is again half years they are asking you to add. This is half year's figure, it's directly given 12,000. The sentence is interest paid on loan for half year. So this is half year's figure, You just have to add 12,000 with this. So we got the interest also. Then the next one is rent and rates including 10,000 prepaid. Prepaid item, what should we do? Prepaid means paid in advance. So that's actually for the next year, which we have paid this year itself. So less prepaid. All these you have learned last year. Add outstanding, less prepaid, add accrued incomes. You remember? So the same thing we are doing. Okay, so to rent and rates, the amount is 75,000, less prepaid amount is 10,000. So outer column 65,000. Then the last one is locker rent received, that's an income which should come on the income side by locker rent. The amount is 45,000. Okay, now the question is over, no? Yes, that was the last item. So the question is over, just find the balance. Here the shortage is again on the debit side, that means incomes are more. Incomes are more means it is resulting in a surplus. Either a surplus or a deficit you will get. Surplus figure here is 76,000 that you have to compute. This is a balancing figure of this account. The totals are 9,05,000. As usual, you can close once you finish this account. So now you got an idea note how to do the income expenditure. Always remember the features of income and expenditure account.